what value does menstruation confer? Like, what is the purpose of the way that we menstruate from an evolutionary perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously hypothesis because these things are hard to prove, but I used to wonder that, when I was like riding my bike home with, in the day, the box of pads, I'm not kidding, they were like this big. Right now, everybody's like, you're riding your bike home, balancing it on your 10-speed, and I used to think, like, what's up with this? Like, this is very biologically inconvenient. There's nothing else in your body that like squirts fluid, on a semi-regular basis. And so the whole point of menstruation is a byproduct of trying to get pregnant. So we have incredibly invasive placentas. Humans do. We have the most invasive placentas. And to handle that, you basically need, for lack of a better word, a catcher's mitt. You need something that can control that invasion. Otherwise, it's going to grow like cancer all the way through. And there are terrible situations where that can actually happen, but it's fortunately fairly uncommon. But otherwise, this would be more common. So you need this really thick, robust decidua, that's what it's called, the lining of the uterus, to handle the embryo. So during the first part of the menstrual cycle, the lining builds up kind of layer by layer from estrogen. And then you ovulate and you release progesterone. And that changes the tissue so it becomes decidua, which is now this basically layer of thick cells that looks like tissue. So if you ever pass something and you think, did some liver come out of me? That's decidua. Everybody's like, yes, that's happened to me. And so you have this thick decidua to handle this invasive placenta. You need this invasive placenta because humans have the blood vessel from the fetus touches the blood vessel for the mom, so that to get that really great oxygen extraction. Because to grow big brains, you need a lot of oxygen. So that's why I'm like, so everybody benefits from the menstrual cycle because we wouldn't have evolved the way we have. And the decidua also provides kind of an immune system to start help managing the placenta, to also sense the embryo. You've probably all heard with the discussions about reproductive rights and abortion, lots of people saying, well, 70% of early embryos fail. So lots of people are having miscarriages and don't even know. That's because the decidua is sensing abnormal embryos. Because if you think about having a human, and if all the parents here are going to laugh, it's a massive biological effort, right? So not only do you have to get through pregnancy, which is the most biologically taxing thing a human can do. It's the same energy expenditure as the Tour de France, okay? So you have to get through that.
I feel like standing up and applauding right now. Oh my God, that's incredible. Okay, thank you. Sorry to interrupt. I just had a moment where I started to sweat.
So you get through the Tour de Bébé, right? And then you have to survive delivery. And then you have to breastfeed, which is actually even more metabolically taxing than being pregnant. And then you have to raise the human until it can eat and fend for itself. So evolutionarily, you need to have the best embryos to get through. You don't want to expend 2 or 3 years of massive biological effort and then have a death. You want to get through to the next generation for evolution. So that's why all of this sensing and all of this is important. And that's why we menstruate, because we have this thick decidua. If implantation doesn't happen, it can't be reabsorbed. It's too thick. You need like a digestive tract. So the only option is to dump it and start anew. And the difference with animals that have estrus, which is most other mammals, is they don't form the decidua until the embryo contacts. So because they have litters, they have other way, you have a giraffe, it drops 8 feet and stands up and can run. I mean, they don't have to go to school, it's okay if it hits a head. So, so it's different, and that's why I always like to say choice is coded into the reproductive tract, because if you don't ovulate, you will not get pregnant. If there's a failure of the corpus luteum to produce enough progesterone, you won't get pregnant. It's like choice is coded into the system. With estrus, there is no choice. If there is an embryo, it's going to implant.
How thick does my decidua have to be to get a child all the way through college? It's so thick. It's so thick.